Hey everybody, welcome to Review with Me, your review guide of shows, movies, and everything in between. Be sure to click the like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get on with this review. Hey everybody, welcome back to another review. Let's go ahead and get into it, child. I have my notes. I'm ready to go. So we are back with Married at First Sight, Season 18, Episode 11 is what we are reviewing for today. This episode is titled, She Said He Fled. Okay, okay, tongue twister. She said he fled. Who are we speaking about? Who is the main character here? Akechi's music soul child as Akechi. Life Jennings as Akechi. Okay? Lettucey as Akechi. Let's go on and get started. Okay, so it starts off. Well, there was one other scene, but we don't have to talk about that scene. Aem says she keeps calling Ike, calling. No reply, no call back, no text back, no I'll hit you up later, just completely ignore. What I'm trying to understand is, okay, here's the thing. Maybe it's my problem, but I feel like if someone's keep on giving you dust, at some point you have to be like, okay, I'm done, right? Or, okay, I'm not going to keep on pushing it. I'm not going to keep on trying. But maybe that's why I'm not married, right? Like, maybe that's why. I mean, there's that. But nonetheless, she keeps on calling. She's not giving up, no matter how much he calls her aggressive, no matter how much he yells at her, how many times he calls her aggressive, how much he yells at her. She is going to keep on calling this man. And I'm trying to understand, does he have her blocked? Or does her phone calls and text messages immediately go to block? Because how every time she calls, he doesn't respond not once? I don't understand. Okay, so we see Carla. Carla is showing us, telling us, I got jobs. I have work. Yes, I quit my 9 to 5, but I'm still getting paid. I'm still getting money. We see her in these scenes doing hair for her clients. Apparently, her clients are super faithful to her, and that is good. I mean, look, let's give her some credit there. Maybe she's not so ditzy as she appears. Maybe she could stop shaking her bobble-ass head, but nonetheless, maybe Carla has something going on, and we're just not realizing it. Her sister comes over to the apartment. Apparently she's never been there before, and she's like, oh my gosh, it's my first time here. Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, girl, what? So they're talking about how Carla is. Carla is very much flowy, not rigid, not structured. While Juan, he needs structure from what he's showing, right? He needs questions. He needs questions answered. And that explains a lot of how he questioned her previously, right? In the previous episode, we saw him asking her, okay, so what's going on with the opportunity you have in New York to, what's the rate that you're charging? Are they covering travel fees? How long are you working? Like, he's asking logistical questions that are needed to be asked. And it did look like Carla was just an idiot. Like, I don't know. Girl, what? Here's the thing. On one end, I understand Carla's personality to an extent, because even within myself, I know that I'm very much effervescent. I like to flow, and it'll work out how it works out. But there's another side of me where I need questions answered. What are we doing? What's the structure? But I usually get everything done last minute, or I get it done under pressure, and it always turns out well. That's just been my history, and that's how I work. But nonetheless, Carla is realizing that maybe she could learn from Juan and, seek some insight on how to be more structured like him. Because, with Juan, he runs and bikes 30 miles a day. Okay. So we get to Akechi. Akechi is finally back on our screens after just that display of complete disrespect. Time and time again, he calls a mem. I don't know if y'all catch it. He calls her that, as if she's an object, as if she's a beast, as if she's not human. And I find that to be very disrespectful. So he's sitting down with Pastor Cal. I always thought his name was Carl. This whole time it's Cal. So what's the full name? Okay. But anyway, he's sitting with him. And Pastor Cal, they always tell the married folks, we see everything now. We've been following y'all. And I feel like that sounds so creepy. Like, we get it. We're on a show and you guys are tracking us and all these things. But it just comes off very, very like, evil Santa type of thing or evil elf. So Pastor Cal is saying that, like, what's going on, man? He's asking Ikechi, what's really going on? Like, why? He's like, Camille, like, what's really good? what's really good, nigga? What's up? Man to man, what's going on? Black man to black man, what's going on? So he's asking him what's going on. Ikechi is saying, look, this woman right here, she's too ambitious. He calls her overly ambitious. And that is a continuous slight to her, I feel like, to MM. And he references examples in which that is shown, how she initiates sex and how apparently 2 days into them knowing each other, they're in the honeymoon vacation and MM's in the shower. She's like, you want to join me? And I'm like, okay, MM. I don't see anything wrong with it. But here's the thing. What I've noticed and what I had to sit with is Akechi is just a different type of guy. And MM is the polar opposite of that. I feel like if Akechi, maybe even, I don't know if it's just him not being attracted to her, or because I don't think I think she's an attractive woman. I think she's accomplished. I think she has a lot going on. But because Akechi comes across very, maybe timid is the word I'm looking for, but very just scary. He acts very scary. Like, I don't like looking down all the time. He doesn't walk in the room and own the room. He's not manly in that sense. And with a mem and her personality, she needs a man who is strong enough for her. Because to an Akechi who is timid, who is not aggressive, who is not this strong personality, who's not this manly figure, not to say that he's not a man, but to say that he's not this like alpha man. Like, we have to alpha our men more. I could go a whole diatribe with that, but nonetheless, a man seems intimidating, in my opinion, in his perspective. That's how I see it, honestly. So he says, who does that? Who is forcing or coercing someone to jump in the shower with me, with them after just 2 days of knowing? And I'm like, what are we doing? People have one night stands, Akechi. Hello? Who does that? Half of America, more than half. People have slept together after 2 minutes. Okay, maybe 2 hours. Let's say that, 2 hours. It could be a nice date. It could be a vibe being felt. Oh, I'm feeling you, you're feeling me, and we're in the bathroom. Okay? We're finding a secret place. We're escaping somewhere. We're getting it on. People do that. This is not this strange, I just don't wonder, and I'm from the South. Then stay in the South. If you want a Southern woman, stay in Tennessee. Go back to where you came from. Because this idea of, a mem is too aggressive. A mem does too much. She's extra. She's overly ambitious. And here's the thing. He says it with a negative tone. Right? Whenever someone says you're overly anything, it's always a negative connotation. So there's that. And to really contextualize Aem, she had to be overly ambitious to be as successful as she is. She had to be this woman who goes after her dreams and accomplishes her goals. And that is why I could maybe project that maybe she's making 6 figures a year, and maybe she's doing so many strides financially that she may appear intimidating to a man such as Aachi. So anyway, Aachi's saying all this. He says, it seems like he's a little bit more receptive to what Pastor Cal is saying here, though his expression, like his countenance, is very absent-minded, I would say. It's like he's lost. It's like he's checked out. He's not there, and he's not trying to hear it. But because he respects Pastor Cal, because he probably doesn't want to appear even more like a dick, he is listening and receiving. So Pastor Cal is advising him, look, let's try to have a different perception here. Let's go back into this experience and have a conversation with the mem. And Aachi's saying, it's so easy to talk to you, but it's not easy to talk to that. He says, this conversation is easy, but that other conversation, again, the word that, he continues to use the word that to describe his experience with the mem, and mem in general. He does not refer to her as his wife. He doesn't even say her name. And there's a part later on in this episode where we see Aem, and we know this previously, she always refers to Aachi as her husband. That's my husband, my husband. And she is so excited to say that label. She is very much, how that whole meme or whatever, my man. She's so excited to finally say that. In particular, to say my husband. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But what's unfortunate here is that's not reciprocated. There's no my wife. There's no excitement on the other end. And if you have a man who does not desire to engage in sexual chemistry, connection, however you want to spin it, with you, no matter what she does, it'll be too much. Because if Aachi was a man who really liked her, who was attracted to her, who liked her energy, who liked her vibe, who came from the same geographical location, because Aachi keeps on saying, I'm from the South. As if Southern women wouldn't dare to be forthcoming or, forward. Now, I think a man who is forward, I think a man who is really into someone, regardless of us meeting the first day, the second day, and we're out on a vacation, he would jump at the opportunity to jump in that shower and be close in nudity with his wife. Like, what are we talking about? Okay, so we jump into Allan and Madison. So we see Madison. She's talking to us on her solo cam. And she's telling us about a date night that they had just previously together at a bar. It was a good night. They were throwing it back, having some drinks. And I'm wondering, were they with friends or was it just them two? Nonetheless, they're out having a time. They both return to the shared apartment, and Allan decides to say, hey, I'm going to head back to my place. As if like, okay, I'm okay. As if he dropped Madison off to their shared apartment. And he's now saying, okay, bye. As if he dropped Madison off to her house and he's now going back to his house type of thing. Like, no, nigga, we're home. We're at this house together. I really feel like they should stop allowing, and by stop allowing, yes, they have their free will, all these things, but they should deduct pay. There should be some type of penalty enforced if these contestants go back to their house. They should not go back. They should forget their previous address. Seriously. This is their house. Their shared apartment is their home together with their spouse. There should be no opportunity to say, hey, I'm going back to my house. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? This is a 2-bedroom apartment. If you need space from your spouse, go to the second bedroom. Like, that's it. But anyway, so Allan's like, I'm going to go back to my apartment, and, you know, I'm going to go over there and spend the night there. I'm going to sleep there. Apparently, he had something going on the following day, and he needed more rest. You can't rest at your, what's wrong with this shit? I don't like that. I don't like that. I felt like that was eye-opening for me. The whole time we see Madison as very much like the villain here, right? You know, she doesn't find him attractive. She's not giving him any play. Allan keeps saying he can't read her. He can't read her. But in this moment, I was looking at Allan differently. I really was. I was seeing him as this stubborn person, because Madison was telling him, you're not well enough to drive. I don't think it's a good idea for you to go on the road and drive. And he's trying to excuse it and say, it's just 15 minutes. It's a 15-minute drive. It's not a big deal. Yada, yada. Like, okay. All right. Go ahead and drive. I hope you hit somebody and a tree so you know I told you so. That's how petty I would have been, but that's horrible. Okay, we cut to Michelle and David, still no success, still no increase in improvement, none of that. But Michelle keeps saying, no strides. But look, we talk, when I came back to the apartment, I came back late and we stayed and talked for 20 minutes. And, that's success. That's what's her name? Michelle, please get out of my face, Michelle. Okay. Michelle talks about she came from a poor background, and how later on we learned that I guess she was so poor, her family was so poor that at her school she was allowed a different kind of lunch, like discounted lunches, and they made it so obvious, so much so that those students who had discounted lunch, they get a red ticket, while everyone else, they continue with the yellow ticket. Now, I could definitely sympathize with that, because I could see how that is isolating for a child. And as an educator, when you have students needing specific accommodations, you don't single that student out. You don't say, oh, hey, since this student is dyslexic, you're going to sit closer to me. Everyone else, y'all are good. Y'all can do it by yourself. Like, you're not supposed to name it out loud. You're not supposed to make that student feel unlike the others. Everyone wants to feel included and a part of a group. So I could imagine how painful that was, especially, kids are cruel. Kids are absolutely cruel. Absolutely. And they probably judged her, bullied her about it. So I could see how that was traumatic. And I definitely sympathize for Michelle. There was some room for sympathy there for her. So we get to Aem and Dr. Pia. They are having their one-on-one. So you notice how both Akechi and Aem needed to have one-on-ones with the expert. I mean, finally, at this point, they're a bit too late, but let's just continue. So Aem is sitting with Dr. Pia, and Dr. Pia points out how, I guess Aem, she responded in a, quote, spicy tone to Dr. Pia, because Dr. Pia was making the point that, look, for someone like Akechi who doesn't like too much, right? He feels overwhelmed. He feels like you're always on my neck, on my body. And now you're not even now, but this whole time you keep saying, my husband, my husband, my husband. Like, take it light, take it slow. And I'm saying, but he is my husband. That is my man. That is my man. And Dr. B is like, oh, that was spicy. What was that? What was that about? That was spicy. First of all, Dr. Pia, hold on. Look, I understand as experts, there's this ideology of it's both people who could take responsibility here. You know, both of y'all are wrong, and there should be accountability on both sides. I'm so sick of that mindset. I really am. I think it could just be one person in the wrong. It's not about, because Dr. P is saying, well, do you think it was helpful when you called his suit a Joker ass suit? Did you think that was yes, nigga, yes, Dr. P, I thought it was very helpful, because this whole time he's been poking. So the little bit that I could do is say he's wearing a Joker ass suit right now. That's the little bit that I could do. Like, what are we talking about? Like, that seriously was like, you pushed the line, Aem. You really pushed the line there. Girl, bye. It was a Joker ass suit. I still think he looked handsome in that suit, but you can still say Joker ass suit. I don't care. Joker, because he's a joke. That's why he's a joker. He's a joke. And I think when you actually look back at the Joker, like, I looked at the cartoon of the Joker. It's been a minute since I've seen that cartoon, and looking at it, technically it does look like a Joker ass suit. So honestly, Aem could have been like, well, Dr. Pia, did you see the suit? Did you see the suit? It looked like a Joker ass suit. It looked like a Joker. Okay, so what else we got here? So she's saying, your response wasn't appropriate. It was disrespectful too. So both of y'all are disrespectful. Both of y'all, okay, yeah, it's both of our faults. Girl, bye. So her advice is, can you lead with empathy? Because I'm trying to understand why you would want to still work it out with the man who is calling you aggressive and who's called you an asshole and all these things. I was wondering, why is she even asking that question? Because typically they promote you still staying in this type of mess. But I think she did that on purpose because she wants to hear how Aem could still fight in this marriage and fight for their marriage. So Aem explains the reason why I'm still fighting and still interested in staying in this marriage is I think that he doesn't realize it could be a coping mechanism. The way he is defending himself, the way that he is speaking, it could be his way of coping or defending himself, and that could be a layer that we could grow in, that we could grow together about. And whatever, I guess. So we get to Camille and Thomas, and they're doing pretty well. And I'm glad to see it. Camille has yet to say anything about his swag, his blackness, his cultural back. No, I have yet to hear that conversation return, and I'm happy to see that. And I think it started since they consummated their marriage. That face she made at the dinner. Like, okay, girl, this is your first time having sex. So they had a good time, and it's been great ever since. Camille, we learned about Camille and how she was as a child, and how her childhood was kind of stolen in a way, because during the divorce of her parents, she found herself really showing up as a parent to her sibling. And that's called a parentified child, which is an interesting term. So she was crying about that, and we don't really get to see Camille being tender. And you could see when Camille was being tender, Thomas was comforting her. And when Thomas was being tender, which he often is, no shot, but he often is, and Camille is comforting him as well. So there is reciprocity between these two folks, and I'm happy to see that. Carla and Juancho. So Juan is, impressed, I guess, with Carla, because he says, you could build an empire. It seems like you have traction, and since you're a creative, I would advise for you to create a social media presence and use your creativity to become a content creator, and that could help you in your entrepreneurial journey. She's taking notes. She's writing it. I don't think she was really writing it down, because she kept looking at him, but she wasn't really writing anything down. And that book of a journal, first of all, those types of journals where you can't really fold it, like you can't fold it behind each other, you have to open it as a book. I feel like they're the worst kind of journals. I really do. Like, where is the spiral notebook? Where is the easily flattened spine? I don't know. This is a little pet peeve of mine. Anyway, so she's taking notes, apparently, allegedly. And she's saying, you know, I really value you and I'm happy that you're in my life. I could learn a lot from you. And it seemed to be a nice moment. So I give them that. Kudos, finally. Allan is back on our screens and he's saying, look, I think Allan's over it. I think this episode we are seeing a lot in Allan and how he's just over the shits. He's not going to continue to kowtail to her and he doesn't care anymore. Like, he's calling it out and he's not being what's the word? He's not being shy about it, really. He's not holding back. He's letting it known. So he's telling us in this personal diary cam that he's the one who always has to keep on changing. It's always something about him that's not good enough for her. He has to change his wardrobe because she doesn't like the SpongeBob trunks that he has on. He has to change his style of communication as far as like his jokes because she doesn't like that. I watched the after party of this show, of this episode, and we learned that Allan, he likes to use a lot of, I guess, romantic lines, or some people will say corny lines, but he likes to use a lot of romantic lines to show his love, to show his care to someone. And Madison feels like that's corny. Like, why are you talking like that? Ew. You know, why he's talking about to be or not to be, Madison. I want to be with thee. Madison's like, stop. Ew. Stop. Forever is too long. So Allan has had enough. He feels like at this point, he doesn't think Madison finds him attractive at all. So we jump into Michelle and she is with her friend who, you know, I guess she was at their wedding, and we're at this clothing shop. Michelle decides to shop for David. Again, this is another example of a couple of the wife who wants to change everything about the husband. The husband's not good enough. He doesn't look good enough. He's not dressing well. Why is his hair like that? Oh, he swears. He cusses. I don't like the way he talks. I don't like the way he walks. Everything about him just stink. That's Michelle and that's Madison when they talk about their husbands. It's pretty embarrassing. And I pity them. I really do. I pity them, and I feel sorry for Allan and David. But, you know, David's walking into the store, you know, like Bowser, like Bowser from Mario Kart. And he's just super smiley, super happy. Anything for you, Michelle. I'll change. I know I could change. I know I could change. I know I could be better. I know I could be who you want me to be. And I just want David to get a backbone. I just want him to get a backbone. Michelle is not that good looking for you to just fall at her feet, for you to forget who you are. It's quite embarrassing and pathetic. It is pathetic. I'm losing respect for you, David, because at this point, I want you to buck up. You know, I'm happy to finally see Allan buck up and say, look, I'm tired of always being the one changing. I'm tired of her, of Michelle not finding anything about me that she likes. Does she even like me? You know, does she even find me attractive? I want David to have that same attitude. Stop just walking around looking all fucking like Bowser. And hey, whatever you want me to do, Michelle, I'll do it. If you want me to cut my hair, I'll do it. If you want me to get another job, I'll do it. If you want me to start saving my money, I'll do it. No. If you're not doing it on your own, then you don't have to do it. That's how I feel. Like, David is changing all about himself. And look, I like the little makeover. Don't get me wrong. The little fashion show, I thought the style of dress, the fashion, it looked good. It is an upgrade to his regular attire. Don't get me wrong. But the principle still stands. The principle still stands. And the principle is she doesn't like anything about this man. So regardless of him changing his attire it still is not enough for her to feel more connected with him, enough for her to try to be intimate with him. And not just, I'm not trying to say she got to just immediately hump his bones, but I think at the very least, she should just let her guard down. She should try to sit closer to the man. Like, put your feet on him. At least that. Let him rub your feet. Girl. Okay, yeah, so Allan and Madison, they meet with Dr. Pepper. And Allan is telling Dr. Pepper, look, I think she doesn't like anything about me. At some point, enough is enough. And I'm sick of it. And I ain't got the time. I think she is being rude. I think this is ineffective. It's always me. Do you even find me attractive? And Madison stumped. She's like, I don't know, I guess. How do I answer that question? That's a weird question. How is it weird? What's weird about it? Do you like me? Do you like how I look? Do I make you wet? Do you make me, do I look like you want to take your clothes off for it? Make that clear. Talking about, I don't know, that's a weird question. Girl, Madison, you know how to speak. It's not a weird question. They also share some childhood trauma. This is a trauma show. The whole show was trauma. But this episode really highlighted the trauma in their childhood. We learned more about how, I think the reason why Allan is the way that he is. I mean, he touched on it in the earlier episodes, how his parents, they had a nasty custody battle. And I forget in the first episode or second, did we see his mother and father? Were they in the same room? Were they together in the same room? We know that they're divorced, but were they able to make amends and find some common ground to be in the lives of their children? I don't know. But that was a definitely hard time for him. And for Madison, I can't remember if she shared exactly what was traumatic in her childhood. She says there's some context to the reason why she didn't want Allan to drive while drunk, which anyone, like, you shouldn't want to drive drunk anyway. Like, regardless of you having a childhood traumatic event of your father driving drunk and killing half the neighborhood, like, that doesn't, it doesn't matter whether that was a direct experience. You shouldn't want anyone to, like, you know what I mean? So nonetheless, they both connected from there. And I still felt like Allan still kowtowed to her in that moment. Like, he felt sympathy for her. Not to say he can't feel sympathy for her, but she started to cry. And it started to be more about Madison. Like, because I went through so much in my life. And no, this was not the point, Dr. Pepper. This was not the point. The point was Madison is not trying to see this man, this good man. He's a good man, Savannah. She was not trying to see this man as an attractive one, as one whom she can be attracted to. So that's the point. We talking about what I went through with my divorced parents when I was 10. We talking about her grandma who was in a divorce car accident. What? But we talk about things that has right now. Let's talk about right now. I'm not talking about 10 years old Allan. So sometimes we talk about the past, and yes, I could see how it turns you to the person you are today, but sometimes we dwell in the past too much, and we don't give more highlight to the present moment. Let's talk about what happened 2 days ago. Let's talk about the fact that, every time we've been together, I'm not good enough for you. I want to talk about that. Not when I was 10 years old, okay? Because I blocked that from my memory. Just like Allan said, I blocked half of that from my memory. What are we talking about? I can't even tell you what happened at 10. So yeah, I felt like some of these conversations, sure, it gives us more of a holistic view of these people, but I didn't think it was necessary. I think we have to focus on right now and how we could get through the right now. So we get back to Aem and Aachi. We wrap up with them, and they're finally meeting together in this like storage ass room. this room where, like, you know how like prisoners or like people who are kidnapped, they go into like this U-Haul storage station. It felt like that's where they were. Like, okay, are y'all in a hostage situation? So they're meeting with both Dr. Pia and Pastor Cal. And it's like, dun dun dun. Pastor Cal came to a realization right in the moment, right in the live time. And he says, look, I figured it out. Aem, she leads with reasoning. Aachi, you lead with art. And Aachi says, yeah, I am art. I am art. Like, Aachi, Musiq Soulchild, please. Life Jennings, please. Aachi, please. Like, what are we talking about? You did one improv poetry night at the wedding, and you think you this artistic fool. What this whole season, what else do we see from you that's artistic? We hear you saying your art. We hear you saying you like to just be, and you like to just you know, let's just be in each other's like spirit, yeah. But we don't see it. We don't see you being art. We don't see you trying to come off as this flowy, lyrical, miracle type of guy. So miss me with this whole I'm art. No, you're not, Musiq Soulchild. You're not. Please, like, leave me alone with that. I just find that to be so, ugh, makes me want to throw up. Aem, she leads with reasoning. Now, here's the thing. So what? Oh, they're trying to say, you know, Aem, if you could just lead more with art, and Aachi, if you could just lead more with reasoning, then we could make this work. We could make this. No, it's not. It's not, and here's why. Aachi is still not gonna do what y'all are telling. Y'all been telling him the same thing since the beginning. Right? It was just 2 episodes ago, before the whole blowout of Aachi, him being directed to say, you know, take more of the lead. And Aem said, okay, I'll let you take more of the lead. I'll sit back. I'll chill. I'll sit back. And it seemed like Aachi was receptive to that. It seemed that he wanted to, you know, go ahead and do that. But did he do it is the question. The answer is no. He did not. He did not. He doesn't speak. He's a mute. Aachi doesn't speak. And when he does speak, he feels like what he says is sufficient. It's not. You're not making any sense. You speak in these parables. You speak in parables, analogies, allegories, all of that. All of the literary devices. That's what, he's an art teacher. He's an English teacher. Talking about, I'm art. How? You don't make any sense. So Aem, she's saying, look, if I'm being too much, you know, at least give me a cheat code, right? Just give me a cheat code. And you can see Aem, her wall is trying to, you know, it's coming down. She's choosing to let it come down. And it looks like that's how it always is between them. Aem has to be the one to break the ice. She has to be the one to calm Aachi down. And I find that to be so exhausting. And sure, that when you're in a relationship, you know, you bounce off each other, and maybe there are some arguments the man would, you know, break the ice, and some arguments the woman would. But it goes back and forth. It shouldn't have to always be one person, because I feel like that is one-sided, it's lopsided, and it's a recipe for disaster. And we see that with Aem. Aem is always the one having to lean in, break the ice, meet him where he needs to be met. What is Aachi doing? Where is he trying to meet her? We don't see him throwing any picnics for her. We don't see him inviting her to what he has going on. Now, granted, I think he's a teacher, right? He works at a school. He talks about how the reason why in the after party, he says how the reason why he's so defensive is he deals with kids all day. He has to be defensive. That's his. And it's like, Another excuse, because I work with kids all day, and no, I don't. No, I don't. I don't have to be that way. You choose to be that way. That's how you communicate. That's how you defend yourself. But that's not how you need to be all the time. Like that, you know how to turn it off. Cut it out. Anyway, yeah, I feel like with him, he doesn't make an effort. There's no effort. So of course she has to take the lead. And she's naturally a leader, so it's nothing for her. But I could see how that could be exhausting. And I wish a mem could lead with that. You know, because she is very much more of this reasoning, science-y type of woman. And though that's great, I don't think that has to be changed about her. But I wish she could say, you know, sometimes I feel exhausted having to lead conversation. Sometimes I feel unwanted. I wish, you know, I want her to show that vulnerability, show that softness, and say, I want him to want me. And, you know, I want to feel love. He doesn't tell me how good I look. He doesn't, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, a man, she's not really like that. She's not the type of girl to do that. Nonetheless, they end with Dr. Pia saying, look, the only way this is going to work if y'all live in the same place, if y'all live in the same home. So what's it going to be? What's it going to be? Me, you know, and there's like this pause. Then a mem, there she go again. She says, will you move back in with me? Girl. Look, one thing I could do, I could commend a mem. She is someone who doesn't hold grudges. She is someone who is mature and can still communicate respectfully with commitment in mind, with, you know, the pursuit of marriage, of longevity. And I could respect that. I could give her that award. So Akechi responds, I'll move back in with you. It was just, okay. And he kind of like smugs when he turned around and asked and responded to her when he said that. I think he wanted her. I don't know. And look, I do want to commend, again, I want to commend a mem for being vulnerable in that moment. But I'm like in the balance between be vulnerable or be like, F this nigga, you know? Like, oh, this music soul child type of guy. Anyway, there we have it. That's how it wraps up. Let me know what you think. Do you feel like Akechi is music soul child? What do y'all think? No shots of music soul child. But let me know what you think. Do you think Allan should continue to stand up for himself? Because I'm really proud of seeing that. And David, Lord, David, just get a backbone, David. Just get a backbone. Let me know what you think. Sound off in the comments. See you next time.